special guest. I am slightly obsessed with the films of one Joe Dante, you might have guessed. And so I'm honored and excited to welcome to the stage Belinda Balaski, everybody.
I love those lights, I can't see a thing.
Just pretend.
Hi, everyone. Hi.
How is your convention going so far?
Oh my God, it's been wonderful.
Yeah?
Yeah, no, it's been one of the best conventions I've been at.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Do you feel like this is the best panel you've ever done?
I don't know yet.
Well, I feel like you could probably predict. No, so I'm just joking. So I'm so excited to talk to you.
Okay.
How did you get started in acting? Let's start at the very beginning.
Oh, at the very beginning?
The very beginning.
Do you guys really want to hear that?
Of course I do.
Okay, so I was like a kid who was always found in the closet drawing. Okay, my mother would put us to bed and I'd always be in the closet drawing at 2 in the morning and she'd find me there and discover me. And so I thought I was going to be an artist, which I am doing now, but then I heard when I was 5 years old, I was walking down the hall and I heard God say, your life is going to be about communication and you're going to be an actor. And I was just a little kid and I said, okay. And then I went about doing that because that's what he told me I was going to do. I started directing all the kids in the neighborhood, writing little plays, you know, charging the parents a dime to come see them. And that sort of bled into this, you know. I did years of theater, won some awards in LA, and that kind of started my career.
So how did that transition then into film?
Well, let's see. I guess it started with Bobby Joe and the Outlaw because I was in a workshop with Mary Lynn and actually Linda Carter. All of us were in the same workshop. And Mark Lester came in to watch an evening of our scenes that we had done. He ended up casting Peggy Stewart, myself, Linda, and Mary Lynn. And all of us, you know, went and did Bobby Joe and the Outlaw, which was really fun to do. And my first movie, and one of my favorite parts ever. And what happened was, Tina Hirsch was going to edit Bobby Joe and the Outlaw, but she didn't have any place to edit. So she called Roger Corman and asked Roger, could we possibly use New World? And he said, of course, come, right? So she ended up sitting next to this little guy who was editing his first film called Hollywood Boulevard. And his name was Joe Dante. And so they would do a scene and she said, what do you think of this cut? What do you think of that? And they'd like help each other, you know, and that's how Joe met me. Of course, I didn't know that until I went into an audition, but I had done Cannonball after Bobby Joe, and Paul Bartel directed that, and of course used Joe in the movie. So I went in to audition for Piranha. Have you guys ever been in an audition? It's such a weird experience because when you open the door, it seems like this long walk to the table where the people are sitting. So you're walking towards them, and he literally said to me, we did a picture together. And I thought, oh my God, who is this, right? I'm trying to think, who is he? So I'm walking slower and slower and slower. And then I realized who he was. I said, oh my God, you were that greasy little car mechanic in Cannonball. And he said, yeah. I said, you were wonderful. So we have this sort of mutual love for each other from that. And then he ended up casting me in Piranha. And as John Sayles said to me, he wrote the part of Terry Fisher from Betsy in Piranha. He said he loved what I did with that character so much that he wrote this whole Terry Fisher part in a book that didn't have Terry Fisher in it.
Wow, okay.
So, you know, one thing bleeds to another.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So when The Howling comes up, you don't even have to audition? Like, this part is written for you? Or
do you
they
want to
make
hear
you...
that? Because he said, I was in Hawaii, I was living in Hawaii at the time, and he's like, okay, so we're auditioning people now. I said, oh, do you want me to fly back? He said, no, you already have the part. I said, but you're auditioning people. He said, legally, I have to. I said, but what if you cast somebody? He said, you've got the part. I said, don't you want me to fly in? No. I said, Joe, why don't you want me to fly in? What if you blow it, he says. Oh my God, are you kidding? So I didn't fly in, and I did get the part, and John Sayles told me that in the morgue scene. He said, I wrote this part for you, and I had no idea. It's always so many surprises, you know.
So cool. So can you talk a little bit about working with Joe Dante?
I have such a loud voice. I feel like I don't.
Oh no, you're
listen.
good.
Okay.
Because obviously you become part of his kind of repertory company.
Joe wanted a repertoire company.
Yeah.
That's exactly what he wanted, and he wanted to use the same actors in all of his films. And I got lucky to get in his first film. And then he kept casting me. He said, sometimes you'll be a star, sometimes you'll be a bit part. I said, I don't care as long as I'm working, you know. It's what an actor does, right?
And what is Joe like as a director?
Oh, he's so fun. I mean, in Piranha, well, Paul was there and I was there, right? And Paul kept saying, we're both here when we don't have a scene together. And we'd go to Joe and say, Joe, Paul and I are here and we don't have a scene together. Yeah, okay. And we're like, but Joe, we're both here and we don't have a scene together. Okay, he would say. And he turned to me and he said, okay, write one. So I wrote that midnight scene where we start to take our shirts off. But you know, that scene is an integral part of that movie. I think if that scene weren't there, it kind of builds that da-da-da-da, you know, like something's gonna happen. I think it's really an important scene, and I think without it, it would have been a completely different picture.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And that starts with you writing your 10-cent plays as a kid, right?
Probably. I always write scenes. In most all of his movies, I've written scenes.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Well, like Gremlins, you know, the night before I was supposed to shoot Gremlins, I called Joe and I said, Joe, he's like, what? I'm like, I don't have a script. He said, a what? I said, a script. No one's delivered a script. He said, that's okay, I don't have one either. I said, wait a minute, I'm shooting tomorrow. He said, just come and ad-lib. I said, oh my God, do you want me to ad-lib with Polly Holiday? Are you kidding? So I wrote out like 20 scenes. You know, I brought this wad of paper to him the next day and said, pick one. And he read them. He said, the first scene's perfect. Take it to Polly. I went into her trailer. Hi, I'm Belinda. You know, it was like so, you know. And I ran the scene down to her, and she goes, good, now you know what to ask Santa for Christmas, don't you? Right like that. Oh, God, she was good.
Yeah.
And evil.
I get why it happens in both Piranha and The Howling.
Why I die.
Yes, this is what I have to ask.
I don't know.
What does Joe Dante have against your characters?
I don't die in Amazon Women.
No, you do not,
No,
and
I
that's
don't.
good. That would be
It's
very out
the
of
only
place.
one. Oh, no, I don't die in Daughters, in Runaway Daughters.
No,
No, that's two.
you don't die in Matinee.
I don't die in Gremlins.
You don't die in Gremlins.
See?
So really it stops after The Howling, I guess.
Yeah,
but
maybe.
it breaks my heart every time I
Thank
watch
you.
her scene, because it really is kind of the psycho moment. We're sure this character is going to be okay because we love her. And when she's killed off, you get that feeling like, oh no, anything can happen in this movie.
Right. Yes, all rules are broken.
Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
It's
true. I've heard so many grown men say, God, I just wanted to save you. And I'm like, well, why didn't you?
So, you know, aligning yourself or becoming part of Joe Dante's company, you end up making a lot of horror and science fiction and kind of wackier fantasy type movies. Did you grow up watching any of those kinds of movies? No.
There weren't. I don't think they existed when I was a kid.
Okay.
That was 100 years ago. You know, when I was a kid. So I mean, I think of King Kong. I mean, that's not a horror. You know, I remember standing up screaming, "No, don't shoot him!"
Yeah.
You know, crying my eyes out. I don't think there really were the same kinds of movies when I grew up,
Yeah.
you know. I do remember seeing a TV movie called Earwig or something about earwigs crawling in somebody's head. And,
It was Night Gallery, everyone.
Night Gallery, oh my God, that movie scared the living bejeebies out of me. I'm still scared of earwigs because of it.
Then I'm glad that you never had to have that done to you in a movie.
Thank you.
What was the
That's
process
fine.
like of working with all the effects in both Piranha and The Howling? I know that can
Pretty
be kind
funny, actually.
Yeah.
You know, people say, was it scary? Well, first of all, in The Howling, the werewolf wasn't done when we shot. So we're imagining this thing. We don't know how big it is. And we're doing all our close-ups without the werewolf. And we didn't know what he could do or what it would look like or anything. It was completely our imagination. And then 4 months later, after I was back in Hawaii, I get a call saying, Rob finally finished the werewolf, come back. I'm like, okay, so I fly back and I'm talking to Gigi, the hair girl, and I'm like, you know, my hair is quite a bit long, you probably should trim it. And she's like, no, it looks the same. And I'm like, I think it's a little bit longer, you should trim it. She's like, nah, it's fine. So, okay, she's the hair girl, right? So if you watch that scene in slow motion, my hair goes like this. All the way through. Pretty funny. But when you think of The Howling, I mean, all I can see, and the same with Gremlins, is a bunch of guys on their knees blowing through straws. There's nothing scary about that. If you don't start laughing, you're in good shape, you know? So
kind of
much
demystifies the whole process.
Sorry. Sorry about that.
You'll never watch The Howling the same way
No,
again.
you won't.
Oh, I had it and then I lost it. I'm so
Which
sorry.
one?
A question, and then I had a question about The Howling, and now, did you read the novel before you did
No,
the movie?
I've never read the novel.
Okay.
No, I've only read John Sayles.
Okay.
Yeah.
You could do worse than reading
No,
John
God,
Sayles.
John Sayles. But I had heard that the book was not what they were shooting.
Yeah.
To put it kindly.
Do you have any theories on why we're still getting together and talking about these movies? Why we're still watching these movies
Because
beyond
Rob Bottin is the greatest.
Yeah.
And he did cutting edge special effects that no one had ever seen before. And that's why you all still watch this movie.
Yeah.
It's the truth. I mean, it's all Rob Bottin. I mean, we're all excellent actors in it, don't get me wrong, but, you know, Rob, if he had not made that werewolf what it was, it would have all fallen to the wayside,
Yeah.
you know?
It's probably my favorite movie werewolf ever.
I think it's the best.
It is. I
Yeah.
mean, it's
And
really scary
it's
and
really
really
scary.
big. Well, now I know it's just a bunch of guys with straws, so it's not scary anymore. But it's still big. That's all right. I'll try to suspend my disbelief. Do you have a favorite part that you've ever played?
Yeah, I do. In Amazon Women on the Moon. I finally got to do comedy, okay? I mean, you know, I'm pretty funny, and I never got to do comedy. I'm always dying or running or something like that, you know, or screaming or, you know, like in Food of the Gods, sounds like one orgasm after another. Sound effects, you know. It's like, woo, you know. But Amazon was really fun. And it was really scary to be up there. As soon as how many of you have seen Amazon Women on the Moon? Such an underrated film. It's really a good film. So you know, when Steve Allen and Henny Youngman and Slappy White and all these guys arrived on the set, they were one-lining each other up the yin-yang, you know? And I thought, oh my God, how am I ever going to get them to listen to me, do you know? And even by the time we got on stage, they were still one-lining each other. And I'm like, okay, I can do this, right? They had 5 cameras live. And so Steve introduces me, and I'm supposed to say, thank you, Steve. And then he sits down. And I thought, I've got to grab their attention. So I said, thank you, Merv. And he went to sit, and then he did this double take. And the rest of them were glued to me because they didn't know what I was going to say next. It was quite a moment. I thought Joe was going to yell cut and say, his name's Steve. You know? But he didn't. He let it fly. And by the end of it, the Ha brothers were out there writing 3x5 cards, and somebody's crawling across the stage handing them to me. You can see my hand go down. I'm grabbing, reading them right off the bat. That's why they added that little held over, the funeral was held over
Yeah.
3 weeks.
Yeah.
So I'm still up there doing comedy.
Oh my
So much
gosh.
fun.
If you've never seen Amazon Women on the Moon, it is so funny. And Belinda's in a sequence where her husband, who's Archie Hahn, right?
Archie Hahn.
Another Joe Dante regular, dies, and she goes to the funeral, and it turns out to be a roast. And so all these famous comedians are roasting Archie Hahn, and then Belinda closes and kills harder than anybody else in the movie. It's fantastic. So
It's really fun.
Did you just not find comedy material that you really liked? Like, you didn't do a ton of outright comedy in
You
your
know, it's
career.
funny, I did a play called Bus Stop at the Met Theater that was run by Jim Gammon and Timothy Scott, if you know who they are. They're great actors. And the first play we did was an Inge play called Bus Stop, and I played the part of Elma Duckworth. And the opening night, I remember between the second and third act, I was crying backstage going, oh my God. And CJ, who was playing the lead character, said, why are you crying? I said, they're laughing out there. And she said, it's a comedy. I said, oh my God, I don't do comedy. I always play the straight man, you know? So yeah, I guess that's why it was so funny. I ended up winning the LA Drama Critics Award for that with rare unanimous votes.
Wow.
It was just very scary. I was so scared, I had no idea, you know?
You've also done a lot of like episodic TV and television
Yep.
work. Do you have any favorite projects that you worked on there?
Yes. Both with Cloris Leachman, I'd have to say. One was called, what was it called when they finished it? Death Scream.
Okay.
It had a million stars in it. It was Ed Asner, Cloris Leachman, everybody you can think of it was about Kitty Genovese, who was the woman that was raped and killed in New York and screamed, and nobody came to help her. And so she died. And I just loved playing this part. It was such an important part for me. Tina Louise was supposed to be my lover, and I never met her. She was in New York. But it was just really one of those important movies, I thought, because of the people who didn't do anything. There were so many reasons why nobody helped her. Some people were immigrants and they didn't have papers and they were afraid if they called they'd be investigated, and everybody had their reason for not doing anything to help her. And I just feel like it was really important to get that story out there so that people would pitch in and help if they heard somebody scream.
You mentioned Food of the Gods earlier.
Yes.
So if doing The Howling and Gremlins is people, crawling around on the floor blowing into straws, what is if you've never seen Food of the Gods, it's about animals that eat some food and become gigantic.
It's Bert Gordon.
Yeah. Who
That's just some of
he
it.
specialized in giant bug and giant animal movies. So obviously, I'm assuming all the effects are done after the fact. So.
No, we had giant fuzzy rats like running around in Canada, and Tom Berman made them, and there were little children in them, and it was really funny. They looked like fuzzy little toys, you know. And I remember Bert saying at the very last scene, he said, now you're all on the balcony, and this is the big moment. This is when the big rat comes, so scream as loud as you can. I said, Bert, I've been screaming for like 15 days, you know? It's going to be ineffective. There's that moment where you open your mouth and nothing comes out. That's what's happened to me when I've actually really been afraid. You start to scream, but there's no sound comes out. That's real fear. And he's like, no, I want you to scream. And I'm like, no, I'm not gonna scream. And he's like, I could have hired Fay Ray, he said. I'm like, okay, you know. But here we were, and I didn't scream. And he must have shot it 20 times saying, I want you to scream. And I kept saying, I'm not gonna scream. Because I think it's more effective.
Yeah.
I really do. I think I was right.
Yeah.
But Bert had all those real rats in his garage. And he said he trained them. I don't know what to tell you.
Is it scary as a young actor to stand up for yourself in that
Very
way?
scary, you know, but at that point, okay, here's Bert, okay. Bert had his wife, Flo, was running, doing second AD. And so he would say, okay, camera rolling, and they say rolling, sound rolling, rolling. And then he turned to us actors and he'd say, now think rats. And he'd say, action. It's like, let me get over that, okay? I mean, what do you think I was thinking? He would just blow every take right before. So yeah, we kind of had a breakthrough moment, as Ida Lupina did when she was on set. Ida was there 4 days. I think she made it 4 days. She's the only character who was supposed to live through the movie. And on the fourth morning at 4 o'clock in the morning, she arrives on set and says, Bert, I've written my own death scene and I'm leaving on the 4 o'clock ferry. And he's like, no, Ida, you're the only one that survives the movie. She said, not anymore. I'm leaving on the 4 o'clock ferry. You better shoot it. So he did. You know, we all became human after that. Poor Bert. Plus, it was snowing, and he wanted this gray, rainy look, right? And it started snowing on this island. You'd think the salt would burn it off. It kept piling. I remember arriving so we did all our interiors during that. And I remember arriving on this set one morning, and Bert's out there with a torching the snow. I mean, you know, things you just don't forget, you know? Moments that are like images in your mind forever.
If anyone has any questions for Belinda, please come to the microphone at the center. Yeah, sir, go ahead.
Hi.
Hello. Going back to being a young actor, especially with Food of the Gods, you're acting with legends like Ralph Meeker and Ida Lupino, and what level of intimidation is that?
You know, when we got there was this baby grand piano in the common room where we all would have dinner and everything. Ralph would play piano and Ida would sit on top and sing. I mean, you know, it just became like family very quickly.
That's
I
awesome.
really wasn't intimidated by them at all. They were just very dear people. Ida was a riot. I mean, she just wanted to get off that island. I thought, good girl, you go for it. You know?
Thank you so much. That's awesome.
Is that common for, you know, the movies that you made outside of kind of the Joe Dante company? Do you have that experience, that kind of familial experience?
I did with Mark Lester.
Okay.
When I did Bobby Joe, there was something he wanted me to do in a scene that I thought was completely against the character that I had created. And I told him, I said, I'm not going to do that. And he's like, yes, you are. I said, no, I'm not. And he said, okay, you're not. I said, okay. And we were fine. It didn't need it, you know.
Yeah.
There was no reason. I mean, I'd done everything else in that movie,
Sure.
you know. We had that Indian with his hands crawling around under there. Even if you saw Bobby Joe and the Outlaw, we have this scene where Linda and I and Marjo are all in this supposed natural hot spring with this Indian. And it was so friggin' cold, that water. But we're like acting like it's really warm and beautiful. And this Indian kept going like this into the water, grabbing my leg. It was like, could you stop that? We're shooting. God. Anyway, you know, there are moments.
Sure. Go ahead.
Yeah. Hi. Aside from being a fantastic actress,
Thank you.
you're also a beautiful painter, an artist, and I want to know what inspires you in your art.
Ah, that's really nice. You know, like I said, my mother would find me in the closet drawing. And so all my life I've been drawing on the side, even though God said I was going to be an actor. So I've retired now, and that's what I do, is watercolor. And I just like to bring beauty back into the world. And I like to create a space that people can just get in touch with their spirit, you know? So a lot of my paintings have a lot to do with beautiful sunsets and beautiful places that, you know, really, I think help your spirit heal and feel better. And that's what I love to paint. Thank you.
That's wonderful. Thank you.
All right, Belinda, my question here is about some non-horror films you've done, specifically Matinee and Small Soldiers.
Oh.
Did you get to interact with any of the big actors who were on those films at all? Like
And
John
Small-
Goodman and Matinee and everything?
Yes, I did get to see John. We were all in Orlando, Florida, and it was really fun to meet him. He was great. He really was great. I was only in Orlando for 3 days or something like that, and then they all went down to the Keys, and they left me
Oh, man.
on an airplane. It was like, wait, I want to go to the Keys, but I never got to go to the Keys. It was really an interesting film because I grew up in the 60s and I knew what was, what that whole film was about. And besides Castle and all of that, it was all about the Oktoberfest, right? And very important film, I think.
And what about working on Small Soldiers? Did you interact with anyone there?
Small Soldiers. Okay, you want to know the truth?
Please tell us.
Small Soldiers. I was literally on set for 11 minutes. I do the scene where I'm supposed to say "shut up" or something like that, and I said it, and Joe said, "Okay, that's a wrap." I said, "Wait a minute, do you want me to do it again?" He said, "It was perfect." I said, "Joe, I've only been here he said, "That's a wrap." I said, "Okay." That was it.
Oh, wow.
In 11 minutes, I made $1,100.
Go ahead, sir. You'll be our last
Hey,
question.
how are you? So, Gremlins was such a huge hit. Then the sequel came out, and I thought that my friend and I were really excited. And then we're just like halfway through, we're just like, because our expectations were so high. And it seemed to me one of the problems was that they didn't focus as much on the Gizmo puppet as they did in the first one, because I think he really stole the show in the first one. And also, I'm kind of surprised that there wasn't another attempt to, or at least a redo. What are your thoughts again on Gremlins 2? How do you think that came out? And are you kind of surprised that the franchise stopped after 2?
I think there might be more coming, quite frankly. I saw something Zach wrote very recently on Facebook that made me believe that there's a 3 coming. But Gremlins 2 was a spoof on Gremlins 1. I mean, it really wasn't an extension of it. It was a spoof on it. Sort of like Piranha was a spoof on Jaws, yeah?
This
So
is
it's
not a
different
room
premise.
where we will tolerate Gremlins 2 blasphemy. There will be no shit talking of Gremlins 2 while I'm on stage. Thank you so much for being with us today. It was such a joy to talk to you. Please, everyone, visit Belinda at her table. Check out her art. She will be here all weekend, and thank you all for coming. If you are in an ultimate seat, please leave that seat and stick around for the Hatchet 2 reunion panel. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.